Okay, so today we're going to break down Anthropic's new AI tool, Claude Design. The big promise here is that it can take a simple conversation, an idea that's just rattling around in your head, and turn it into something real, something you can actually see. Let's get right into it. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You have this killer concept for an app or a website or even just a presentation, but then you hit a brick wall. You're not a designer. You open up Figma or PowerPoint, and that blank white screen is just staring back at you. So, how do you cross that huge gap between a great idea and something you can actually show people? Well, Anthropic thinks the answer is just to talk to it. Claude Design is their new tool, and it's powered by their latest and greatest Opus 4.7 model. It's really built for founders, product managers, marketers. Basically, it's for anyone who has an idea and wants to create something that looks polished without having a design degree. To see how this actually works in the real world, we're going to follow the journey of one single idea. Let's watch how a concept for an app called Senior Brains goes from just a thought to a full-blown design. And this right here is where it all begins. Not with some complicated design software or a single line of code, but with one sentence. The user just typed in, create a wireframe for an engaging brain exercises app for seniors, inspired by Duolingo. The whole thing kicks off from just that simple conversational prompt. That's it. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Instead of just spitting back one single wireframe, Claude came up with three totally different concepts. One was a warm, friendly, card-based layout. Another was a chat-style experience led by a cute mascot. And the third was more of a daily checklist, a calendar-based routine. So right out of the gate, it's not just executing a command, it's actually exploring ideas with you. But look, Claude Design isn't just for sketching out some early ideas. It's built to be your co-pilot for creating much more complex, much more valuable stuff. Let's see how this thing really builds out. So, the user really upped the stakes with the next task. They asked it to create a venture capital pitch deck. And notice how specific they were. Not just any deck, but one to raise $2 million from a top-tier firm like Sequoia Capital. This shows it's not just about making things look pretty, it's about building a serious business tool. So what was the results? Well, according to YouTuber Greg Isenberg, who actually walked through this whole process, the output was just incredible. He said, and I quote, "This is probably the best deck I have ever seen created by any LLM, period." It didn't just have slides, it had market research, a financial model, a whole go-to-market strategy, all from that one prompt. Okay, so with a solid business case ready to go, it was time to turn that simple wireframe into a final polished design. And the prompt here is so important. It wasn't just make it look good. It gave a clear direction, familiar but fresh. And it set a ridiculously high bar for quality, aiming for something that would actually impress the chief product officer at Duolingo. And this just shows you how smart the tool is. The final design wasn't just nice to look at, it was genuinely thoughtful. It knew to include things that are crucial for seniors, like huge buttons, and really simple one idea per screen layouts. And it even added these clever little features, like a social cheer from family and a share to Facebook button. It actually understood user motivation. So yeah, the demo is absolutely amazing. But what happens when it hits the real world? Well, the community's experience is telling us that this tool is both incredibly powerful and sometimes incredibly frustrating, especially when you start talking about cost and reliability. I mean, on the power side, this thing is just packed with pro-level features. It can turn your mockups into clickable prototypes, it can scan your company's code to make sure everything matches your brand style, and it can even package up the designs to hand off to developers. This is not a toy. But, and this is a big but, here's the problem. People are having wildly different experiences with the usage limits. You've got some folks getting 10 hours of solid work in, while a lot of others are seeing their entire weekly allowance get totally wiped out in less than 2 hours. Sometimes on just one big, complicated prompt. That kind of unpredictability is a huge issue. So, the community has already figured out a workaround. Here's the strategy. You use this super powerful but super expensive Opus model for your very first prompt to get a really strong foundation. Then, for all the little tweaks and changes, you switch over to one of the cheaper models. It seems to be the best way to manage the cost and still get amazing results. Of course, whenever a new AI creative tool like this drops, there's always the big, scary question looming over everything. Is this thing going to replace human designers? So let's take a look at where this tool actually fits into the creative world we have today. When you put it side by side with a standard tool like Figma, the differences become crystal clear. Figma is made for designers, and it spits out design files. Claude Design? It's really made for developers, and it spits out code. Figma is all about collaboration and pixel-perfect control. Claude is all about speed and getting something that's good enough to get started. They're solving different problems. And that brings us to the clear consensus from pretty much everyone using it. The answer is a firm no. This tool doesn't just work by itself. You absolutely need a person with good taste, with a creative vision, with a clear idea of what they want to guide it. It's a tool to make you better, not a replacement for you. A veteran graphic designer, Molly McCoy, really put it perfectly. She said she's not scared about the end of design. She just thinks it's going to make a lot of stuff cheaper and faster, which is what clients have been asking for forever. The core skills, taste, strategy, understanding a client, those aren't going anywhere.
Okay, so let's push the whole professional designer debate to the side for a minute. What does all this mean for the average person? You know, the person we started with, the one with a great idea but zero design skills. Why should you care about this?
Because this tool is for you. It's for the founder who needs a killer pitch deck by tomorrow. It's for the product manager who needs a quick mock-up for a meeting. It's for the developer who's building an internal tool and just needs it to not look awful. It's for anyone who needs to make an idea visual and needs to do it fast. Ultimately, what Claude Design really does is it just collapses the distance between that little thought you have in the shower and a real, tangible first draft that you can actually show to someone. It completely removes that terrifying first barrier to just getting started. And this right here might be the most important distinction of all. It doesn't replace the part where a professional designer and a developer sit down and collaborate. It replaces that lonely, awful phase where a solo creator opens a blank document, stares at it, and has absolutely no idea where to even begin. And that really points to a much bigger, much more fundamental shift in how we might bring our ideas into the world in the future. It's a change in the very nature of what it means to create something. Which leaves us with this final question to think about. What if the most important creative skill in the future isn't about mastering all the complex features in a piece of software, but it's about getting really, really good at having a clear, creative, and compelling conversation?